I remember going there during the war years, just as a teenager, and being impressed by the big building and the significance of it. One of my senior officers from the Navy, Commodore Dacre Smythe, rang me and asked me whether I would be available to become a trustee at the Shrine, because they always had one lady on the trust who was a nurse, and so far he said they've always had Army, so I think it's time we had Navy. And I've put your name up as a possibility. After the interview I had no idea whether they'd accepted me or not. They didn't ask me very many questions at all. I asked a few and said that I didn't know very much about the Shrine and should I study up about it before I accepted. And they said, oh no need, we'll soon be able to fill in the spaces if you're chosen. I eventually got a letter congratulating me on the fact that I'd been chosen as a trustee, and it was to start as from February 1978. Then, of course, Peter Isaacson asked me to get involved with the voluntary guides, so then I really became very much involved after that. I felt, part of the team then when I had a job to do, and also I had been to several of the ceremonies at the Shrine, and they have them frequently. They have a monthly ceremony where one of the trustees, or now the life governors, lay a wreath at the Stone of Remembrance, remembering First World War Army, Air Force and Navy units. And so I did that several times. I have some lovely memories of ceremonies that I attended, and I attended mostly the women's services ceremonies, and one particular group were the VADs, Voluntary Aid Detachment girls from the Second World War. They were women in their 80s and 90s then, and they would come along twice a year for a ceremony. Once would be to remember all of their members who had died, and they used to plant a little cross with a name on it for each one who died. And these women, and I was getting a little bit stiff in the joints at the time, but they'd bend down and put these in the ground, and then they'd gather them up later, and they'd read out the names, and their numbers were dwindling every year, And the last time I did the ceremony would have been 2 years ago, and they'd said then that they thought that would be the last one. There were only 3 of them there. So that was quite sad to see their numbers being depleted so much, but of course their age. But they were very strong and very lovely women. I think it's important. I think it's important in people's lives, and it's pride too. They're very proud of relatives who've been involved. The families are very proud, and the men themselves, when you see them marching, and the women, when you see them marching, they're so proud. And even the Second World War fellows who are all in their 80s at least now, march along as though, you know, they were 17-year-olds and they look so comfortable in amongst their mates and so on. So I think it's very important. And then even now seeing the Vietnam fellows marching is very important too, because that was a nasty business, the whole war, and then the non-acceptance when they got back was terrible. But and to see them marching so proudly too. And I think that's what it's all about. I think it's for the people who were involved themselves and for their families. I don't think we'll ever be free of war, unfortunately. I think if we could get women into all the senior positions, we'd stop the wars, but we can't seem to do that.